We're here for another edition of the Outlook series, and I'm your host, Mike Lippis. Capturing IT costs merely as general overhead keeps the enterprise from truly understanding the business contribution made by IT. IT finance managers need the means to assess IT spending as it relates to specific business initiatives. By mapping costs to architectural elements and then aggregating them in various combinations that are relevant to the business, IT can achieve a clear understanding of those costs. That can help identify potential savings that could free up financial resources, not to mention create a defendable position against the preconception that IT organizations don't understand financial planning issues. Now joining us to discuss IT financial management is Dr. Ulrich Kalex. Uli is a VP of Product Line Management at Alphabet. Ulrich Kalex, welcome to the Outlook series.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for inviting me to this conversation today.
Well, thanks for joining us. So now, we have spoken with Alphabet before on issues regarding enterprise architecture management. One doesn't usually think of IT financial management when discussing architecture management issues. So how does IT financial management relate to or play a role in enterprise architecture management or vice versa?
Interesting question. Let me try to answer this first by opening the perspective a little bit. In embedding enterprise architecture management into the broader context of business IT management. Business IT management comprising a variety of subdisciplines amongst business relationship management, which really is concerned about understanding the strategic inclinations and objectives of the enterprise and the business side of the house in particular, and translating this into an understanding of where critical business capabilities are and how IT is positioned in supporting and enabling these business criticalities, business capabilities today, if at all. It is also about managing a portfolio of strategies and demands so as to identifying the strategies and demands that are best suited to allow business to achieve and accomplish its objectives, typically with the help of new technologies. Mm-hmm. Secondly, we have the area of IT planning, which is really aimed at operationalizing on the demands and strategies that have been identified in the strategy portfolio discussion and matching it to available investment opportunities in the investment portfolio management process. And then thirdly, we are talking about enterprise architecture management as the discipline of managing portfolios of IT assets such as applications, technologies, or information, for instance. All this being based upon a thorough understanding in the two areas of IT financial management, which is serving up key performance information, which is serving up the financial perspective to decision making in the three portfolio disciplines I just mentioned, as well as IT risk management, which does the same for the area of governance, risk, and compliance, which covers the area of information security, and as I said, provides input into key performance metrics that are important and relevant for the kind of decision makings I refer to in the portfolio disciplines. Now, taking this in summary, one could say that business IT management really is about making smart investment decisions. So what needs to be understood is how these decisions are related to the way IT is supporting the business. And that also means to be able to associate cost with the fundamental dimensions of architecture, with the fundamental architecture elements. And it is important to aggregate these cost information to levels that are meaningful to the business. Levels that are meaningful to the business, now reflecting what we discussed just a minute ago on business relationship management, are the likes of business capabilities, high-level business processes, business strategies, business objectives. And so IT financial management is hence mostly concerned around optimizing costs along the business priorities and establishing IT as a strategic player for the business.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Now, while IT may not have been the biggest loser in the financial crisis compared to, for example, production, IT most certainly was forced to make large cuts in expenditures at a short notice. So how did IT financial managers fare with that task?
I very much concur with your observation about the magnitude of cutting that had to occur in the IT space during the last financial crisis. For instance, if I compare it to the dot-com bubble burst 8-9 years ago. Yet, IT financial managers were very much in a difficult situation, somewhat between a rock and a hard place, because they had to cut costs, yet had to be conscious about not endangering the future opportunities of the enterprise as such. So they had to maintain a stable level of investment into areas that were considered critical for future development and evolution of the business side of the house. For this specific task, unfortunately, many IT financial managers are not having the information at hand that they need for ready decision making. They do have a lot of information at hand on the other side. So they have information on hardware, they have information on software, they have information on personnel, and obviously for all these dimensions they have cost information being readily extractable from their ERP systems. What is so difficult is really consolidating these cost perspectives to meaningful entities such as entire systems. So if you take the perspective of a system, of an application, of a certain service, what you really want to understand is, okay, how are costs comprised of licenses, technical operations, hosting, maintenance, end user support, and so on and so forth, how all this is stacking up to the total cost for a specific system, for a specific service. You would also want to understand how are the costs evolving over the life cycle of such an asset, like an application, like a business service. And you would want to understand how cost of providing IT support to a specific business process is fanning out, and how is that cost of IT support different from, say, one sales organization to another sales organization in the same enterprise. Mm-hmm. IT financial managers would be in a much better position to taking these type of trade-off decisions between cutting costs and not endangering business opportunities for the future. In better understanding business strategy and the priorities that business is setting, which means they need to understand the relationship of the cost-driving artifacts in the landscape, which are applications and servers and licenses and development teams and so on. So the cost-driving relationships of these entities to the business capabilities, because business can articulate their priorities in terms of these capabilities. You need to understand how cost information for these applications and services is going to be impacted with the investment opportunities that are being presented to the IT financial managers. Mm-hmm. So cutting costs in IT is identifying where are applications and services that I can reduce costs for without hampering the business on the other side of the house. And these areas are things like identifying assets and services that are underutilized. A good example for this is in the more recent financial crisis situation, many organizations have been seeing a significant drop in transaction volumes. So you want to listen to these events in the business field to understand, okay, here I am expecting, I'm forecasting transaction volumes for a specific system to go down, and hence I can lower the financial burden that is associated with this specific application or asset. Equally, you can scout out for redundancies in the application landscape. Say you have the same business process, but you have a bunch of applications, a bunch of services that somewhat redundantly are provided to business because of merger and acquisition history. You want to understand which business processes have turned non-critical so as to being able to lower the maintenance cost associated with applications supporting these no longer critical business processes. And you want to understand how the current project portfolio, whether it's projects that are being executed right now or projects that are being discussed and planned, doesn't really matter. So you want to understand how that portfolio of projects is related to non-strategic activities or related to overlaps between the different project proposals that are being discussed, so as to identifying which of these projects can readily be killed because they are no longer in alignment with the current strategy of the organization. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, we are taking all these different opportunities together as a bundle, as an armory, if you want, to the IT financial managers to pick and choose from. So it is, again, something that needs to be readily available, that they don't really have to spend a long time scouting out for and doing a lot of intelligence and inquiry.
Mm-hmm. So, but isn't some of that type of information readily available to finance already?
I think the answer to this is yes and no. You see, that's the difference between information and data. There is a lot of financial data out there, and obviously much of it is in the ERP systems. So ERP systems have hoarded information on IT assets, on IT projects, and on the resources that are being used to work on IT projects, the resources that are being used to run operations and data centers. There is a lot of performance information for a variety of business areas that is being collected. Equally, there are IT service management solutions out there that obviously have a good understanding of which services are rendered by IT. Yet, this is not providing the information for the type of decision making that IT financial managers are looking for in the context of identifying cost-cutting opportunities. Mm-hmm. The tools they are using today are the likes of business intelligence solutions, which allows aggregation along a variety of hierarchies, but they are not providing for the aggregation that is required to match this to business and IT architecture context. Simply because these relationships typically are not hierarchical, and the aggregation mechanisms are not providing for the level of abstraction that is needed here. A second set of tools, they are traditionally trying to leverage is business process management solutions, which allow to understand the relationship between business processes, allow to do activity-based costing, for instance, but that is not extendable to the notion of IT support costs. The same applies to business performance management solutions. Both these type of solution sets are very good at capturing situations in the business execution of business processes, and they are not well suited to understanding the IT support side to business processes. And then we have solutions in the IT side, predominantly asset management solutions and IT service management solutions. Let's first look at IT asset management solutions. They have a solid understanding of the physical IT, but this does not provide for the linkage to the relevant business aspects such as high-level business processes or business capabilities or business strategies, which obviously are the agents to identify and communicate priorities that business is setting for itself. And similarly, the IT service management solutions, they are focused on low-level IT services, on incidents, on changes, on problems, and it is not possible to build relationships to business-relevant dimensions such as business objectives or business capabilities in these contexts. So it's really the IT planning systems that are based on enterprise architecture which are positioned to providing that linkage that is required here. They are the owners of the relevant cost factors. They have a comprehensive set of information which can be managed in context and which allows to put information of cost into the relevant perspectives of business architecture to support financial planning decisions.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, an IT finance manager will have short-term and long-term goals. So what aspects should the IT financial manager concentrate on for each of these time frames?
I think that's an excellent question you're asking here, because obviously it brings us to the question, how can we make this actionable? I think on short term, really the focus should be on cost transparency. And it's cost transparency both for the higher level business-facing side of IT, so talking about cost for applications, entire applications, not just individual building blocks, cost for applications, cost for business services. And probably even more importantly, the business perspective to the IT support, which would be cost for business process support, which would be cost for business process support as it relates to a metric that is relevant for the business process. So say, for instance, how much IT cost are we incurring for every contract we are signing if I was, say, an insurance company? Or you could say, how much IT cost are we incurring for quality management in our final assembly processes per production unit assembled? It's these types of metrics that would allow also for benchmarking internal to the organization, because many of the large organizations have a widespread sales organization. Many have a multiplication on the manufacturing side of the house, where potentially we would even have situations where we have in-house manufacturing and outsourced manufacturing. So it may be interesting to see, okay, is the IT support cost we are incurring on in-house manufacturing any comparable to the outsourced manufacturing IT costs, IT support costs? So this is the short-term perspective, really getting a good business intelligence on cost information as it relates to the drivers of business. On the midterm, we are mainly interested in understanding where are redundancies that can be eliminated. Where do we have an opportunity to consolidate technologies because we have come to a significant proliferation of technology. There are organizations out there that have 30-plus database systems in use, where the best-in-class organizations may suffice with 2 or 3. Similarly for application servers or operating systems or whatsoever. We have situations where organizations run and manage as many as 20, 25 different CRM systems, and best-in-class organizations would suffice with 1 or 2 CRM systems. So it's really these types of opportunities that should be focused on in midterm. Maybe there's an additional aspect here that I shouldn't forget to mention, which is really aligning service level agreements with the expectations of business. Mm-hmm. Specifically in times of economic change, like the downturn that we are just coming out of, and then hopefully there's going to come an upturn, it is important to always revisit service level agreements and discuss with the business peers as to whether or not these service level agreements are still appropriate for the situation or the priorities that business is setting for itself. And then coming to long term, we really are looking into a better alignment to the business strategy execution. That means aligning the portfolio with strategic objectives, making sure that every project in the portfolio is linked to strategic objectives. And for the ones that are not linked to strategic objectives, make sure they are associated with some return on asset consideration that is internal to IT, where IT plans on improving with the perspective of maintaining asset value of the applications they own. Second example would be the aspect of standardization and automation of processes for non-critical decisions. Yeah? Many IT organizations are suffering from the fact that almost every process is conducted in an informal fashion, and many of them could be greatly reduced in effort if they were run standardized and if they were to leverage opportunities for automation. This would free up resources that could then spend more time on critical go, no-go types of decisions that would be able to improve the agility of IT responses to business requests, and ultimately would improve IT's ability to deliver in a better time to market to the requests from business. But it is also about liaising with business to standardize businesses' own processes or the processes that business has identified as non-differentiating. Mm-hmm. There are many examples where, by historical reasons, IT solutions are catering to a high degree of variation of such non-critical business processes. And many of the business processes today are non-critical, be it order taking or be it supplier relationship or the like. Oftentimes these processes are not really differentiating in the eye of the customer.
All righty. Now, besides cost reduction and optimal IT investment planning, what other benefits are there to architecture-related definition, benchmarking, and budgeting of costs?
There's quite a few that come to mind here. One that I want to start with, because it's probably not the most obvious of all, is supporting IT outsourcing decisions. I think one of the problems IT organizations are facing these days is that outsourcing decisions have been taken somewhat haphazard. They did not consider a significant number of the cost implications. Examples are release management, upgrades, the extra service fees that they incur in conjunction with, for instance, testing efforts related to release changes and upgrades. All this causing significant insourcing activity these days. So had the outsourcing decision been based on a more thorough understanding of the actual cost situation, these type of pitfalls could have been avoided. And going forward, as companies are reconsidering IT outsourcing, they should be including these aspects adequately. A second example is the area of IT service pricing. I think from the day that IT organizations started to turn into profit centers, there has been a constant struggle to find the right service pricing model. The advent of service-oriented architecture is further accelerating the need to come up with credible pricing models. And if you look at how presently service contracts are being shaped, then there are models prevailing that are very distant from business. So they feature CPU usage, they feature storage space usage, they feature certain hardware type usages, which all are dimensions that have no linkage to business and that don't provide any relevance to business peers and their metrics and key performance indicators. So this results in problems to define the service contracts adequately and come up with chargeback models that are meaningful to the business peers. So getting this under control would require a thorough understanding of how business activities drive IT service levels, drive IT costs. And the IT planning model that I discussed and being based on enterprise architecture constructs and being implemented as an information management solution is positioned to providing this transparency and allowing IT to actually advise its customers on how to save IT costs by giving them the understanding as to where business has cost drivers in their hand. A third example I want to mention here is reliable IT audit reporting. As I mentioned earlier, ERP systems are really cost center focused in their cost management approach. So they have cost centers for data centers, for a pool of staff, they accrue cost over time, they have cost centers for, say, license costs and so on and so forth. They are not able to articulate answers to the IT audit questions as to what costs are we incurring for an individual system across its whole life cycle. They are not able to articulate why a certain system is currently costing so much to run. So, for instance, to understand it is currently costing so much because it is supporting such a variety of different processes today. And turning to a cost management approach that is based on architecture and architectural dependencies, IT financial managers and auditors will be provided with the flexibility to assess cost along these various aspects that exist in the IT environment, be it applications, be it technologies, be it business processes, be it capabilities. And then fourthly, we would be looking into providing IT financial managers with the ability to demonstrate IT's ability to think in business terms. That means that they can make transparent not only the cost, but also the cost drivers. And they can make clear the economics of these costs to their business counterparts. So what supporting application is incurring as costs on an ongoing basis? What are the total cost of ownership for a specific application? What are the costs of a decentralized versus a centralized IT structure? Or, in other words, how much would we be gaining if we were to further centralize our IT architecture, if anything? And they can, with this approach, make the business counterparts partner in the investment decision. So it isn't something that has really been thrown at the business side of the house. And they can show the value that IT is generating in providing that support to, for instance, a highly differentiated business process, and hence can articulate and legitimize the cost that this support is incurring. And they can kind of disperse the doubts that they are confronted from their business colleagues that IT is unable to understand the business factors. And they have basically the answers ready to respond to these type of accusations from their business partners.
Yeah, definitely critical stuff when you're liaising with folks in the C-suite. Now, where can our audience get some more information about what Alphabet's doing in the space of IT financial management?
We have a specific section on IT financial management on our website, so I would recommend best would be to go and visit our website, which is www.alphabet.com, and Alphabet for the folks is ALFABET, so that's ALFABET. www.alphabet.com is definitely a source for further information, and there would also be an ability to get in direct contact with some of our team members here who would be happy to provide further information on request.
Uh-huh. Well, I certainly appreciate you joining us today, and wish you the best of luck with your future endeavors.
Thanks, Michael. It was definitely an interesting conversation we had today.
Thanks for joining us today, and be sure to log on to the Outlook Series site for your business and technology news.